Good morning, Bucknutters. It is Tuesday, January 12th, 2021. I am Dan Rubin. This is the Bucknuts Morning 5 and Change, the day after Deconstruction Pod. We are joined by Duane Long. Duane, last night, Ohio State fell to Alabama 52-24 in Miami. The game was close briefly. Ohio State had a chance near the goal line to tie it at 21. And after that, it was pretty much a runaway. Devonta Smith, wide receiver for Alabama and Heisman Trophy winner, had arguably the greatest half an opponent of Ohio State has ever had, securing the MVP trophy with just 2 quarters of work and 215 receiving yards. I've got my own thoughts about it, Duane, but as you look back on last night, what's your general vibe on why things didn't go well?
Well, I mean, we worried about this going into the season. We lost so many people in the secondary. And over the last few years, we've been very happy, very proud to, that we're getting all these elite cornerbacks in the NFL. And, it brings more in. Well, we just don't have a defensive backfield. It was a mess. It was a mess. We thought there was going to be problems, and we finally got badly exposed. We thought it was going to happen versus Trevor Lawrence, and Mac Jones is a better quarterback than I thought he was. But he's not Trevor Lawrence. But the defensive line was there in last week's game. This week, Mac Jones didn't get touched unless he was running a ball. We really got hurt. If you go back, there are a couple of condensed versions of the Clemson game that I've seen on YouTube. One is 7 minutes, one's 9 minutes, and you really get the impact of how much Tyreek Smith made Trevor Lawrence uncomfortable. He was very active. He was coming through regularly. Tommy Togiai may be the best pass rushing defensive tackle in the country. We don't have those guys, and we just could not find pressure. And that's when it finally burst. Everything went wrong. Defensive line wasn't getting there. We were playing against the best receiver in the country, the best football player in the country, and a superior offensive mind. He was finding all kinds of ways to get Smith in situations where it was a mismatch, where he was going to be open. The closest thing to Smith all night was Green. I mean, he was getting wide open, and he absolutely killed us. And that just was going to happen with this defensive backfield. It just it was finally the right combination of things that really put them in a spotlight, and it was not a good spotlight.
Finally being the key word there, because as you mentioned, Clemson's passing game was during the season statistically almost equal to Alabama's. I think when you see the personnel lined up and then you see Steve Sarkisian's plan, I mean, Texas fans have to be ecstatic about Sarkisian. However, he's not bringing Devonta Smith, people. Smith, and I sent you this last night, being a high school football reporter, it reminded me a town has a Division I elite receiver, and he's being guarded by future accountants and lawyers, and there's just nothing you can do. Everybody knows he's getting the ball. You just don't expect that to happen in a college football game, future pros. But Shaun Wade did not have a good game. Sevyn Banks did not have a good game. The secondary, it's hard to say it was in shambles when it got this far, but I think what you mentioned about the defensive line was so key. They were just so depleted. Like you mentioned, Tyreek Smith. I told people during the week when the rumors were out about Tommy Togiai that I really didn't think they could win this game without him. I could make a strong argument he was the defensive MVP. Not only that, the only possible weakness Alabama had on the offensive line was at center, and we were just not able to exploit that. What do you think about the offense's performance?
Well, it sputtered. There was times when it looked like, especially early on, it's like it's going to be who's got the ball last, the way this is going. And then it just started to unravel. I mentioned in my game review, I do not understand why we do not exploit things like throwing underneath. We just don't do it. Last night we threw one screen pass. It was a bad ball by Fields. If you look, they showed an angle where you could see what was in front of Teague. He had three blockers, and there was some green in front of him. What could have come out of that play? I don't know. Fields made a bad throw. Teague couldn't hang on to it. We never went back to that play. We don't throw to the backs. We don't throw screen passes. We don't do anything to take away the to exploit the underneath routes. It's just, I don't understand it, and it's not just Ryan Day. Urban Meyer would not do that. Not throw to the tight end. Jim Tressel did not throw to the tight end. Did not throw underneath. Did not throw screen passes. I don't know why Ohio State will not do these things. I understand you want to we're getting these elite athletes go down the field to them. Yeah, but they're taking advantage of the fact that we're not exploiting all areas of the field. I think that is a real big problem. I don't know why we won't, but I think it hurt last night. We just weren't sharp for the entire game, and we knew we had to be, Dan. We just, with the defensive backfield was just always suspect. There was going to be points scored. We needed to score points too. And 24 points, it's enough to win a football game. It's enough to win a championship game. But it just couldn't keep them from scoring. It really goes back to that. Offense didn't play great, but they played well enough to win. Defense did not. Wow. It was just, watching what Smith was doing. It was, I really couldn't believe it. I was like, how can this guy continue? He's killing us. Do whatever it takes to make sure the guy who is winning the game for him doesn't win the game for him. He showed that he can. Let's make somebody else show they can win a football game. Make sure. I would have played zone against him more, because what he was just like, the one pattern he kept running. He would start one way, then cut back the other way. Dan, before the play got started, he'd already created space by doing that. That's what Sarkisian was doing. Get him in there where he's going to be open. If you got a zone in there, well, guess what? There's a better chance somebody's going to be standing there waiting on him. Just having guys follow him all over the field made no sense to me whatsoever. It was highly ineffective. 200 yards worth of ineffective.
In the first half.
Yeah, and that happened in one half. I just did not understand how we defensed him. Bracket the kid. Do something where he is not killing you. He gets the ball. He makes things happen. And Alabama said, yeah, we're going to get him the football. What did he have, 12 or 14 catches? I think in the first half, I think he had 12.
I thought it was 11, but it's a ridiculous number regardless.
Yeah, a ridiculous number either way. And we just never did anything to adjust to the fact that Sarkisian said, we got this guy and we're going to throw him the football, and you got to stop him. Until you do, we're going to keep doing it. Yeah, and that's what happened.
Yeah, but I'm not totally sure they were able to. I mean, there were sometimes they had him covered, and he still beat those guys. He's just too good. They needed to match them on offense, and I'm going to disagree. I didn't think the offense was sharp at all. I don't think Justin Fields played particularly well. I'm not sure how injured he is. Overall, I think once Trey Sermon went out, it became a much steeper hill to climb. You consider Mayan Williams wasn't there either. I think he may have gotten some carries. Marcus Crowley had to be dusted off for this game. And, Master Teague is a nice back. To me, he's a second back. He's just not elusive enough. He's really not a threat in the passing game. So we'll get to what's going to go on at running back in the second part of the show here. But I thought the offense was generally lackluster after a decent start. But once it became clear they just could not keep up with Alabama, it was just a matter of time. And even when Smith went out, I didn't get the sense that Ohio State was going to be able to limit them. Do you think it was a scheme issue or you went on the zone? Ohio State was playing a lot of linebackers. It wasn't like they had some stud corners to put in there. They were kind of playing out of necessity, personnel wise, I thought.
Oh, yeah. Well, we've discovered that. That's what I'm saying. We have been concerned about this all year. We just don't have the defensive backfield. I don't know. I tell you what, I keep looking when they show replays, they tend to give you an idea of what's going more better in the defensive backfield. And guys make bad decisions. It's just, why did you do that? I've been saying that all year when looking at the defensive backfield. Why did you make that decision? So we're not getting coached well enough, or these guys are just not real football smart because they're just continue to do things like one player in particular, the touchdown pass where it looks like Tough Borland he's gotten beat badly by Smith. And my first thought is, if your middle linebacker is chasing a receiver down the middle of the field, 20 yards off the line of scrimmage, I don't care. There's no linebacker in history that's going to look any better than Borland did in that situation. What happened? Williamson decides there are two receivers on the other side. There were guys in good position on them. He decides to rotate that way and opens up that side of the field. There was nobody over there because Williamson, who was the last line of defense on that play, decided to go where the two receivers were, that there was already two guys covering them. They were in good position to defend against a pass. Williamson makes the decision to go over that direction, and there's Smith with nothing but green in front of him, and Borland behind him. It just and we did this all season, Dan. If you go back and look at games, and you get an opportunity to look at what our defensive backfield was doing, Indiana's another good one to watch. You say, why did he make that decision? Why did the defensive back do that? And this many times, okay, you're going to get beat every now and then, but this much, it happened all season.
Last year was LSU's offense that was the best of all time. Now people are saying Alabama's offense was the best of all time. Ohio State, I have no doubt, will be in position to get back here next year. What's it going to take for someone to beat one of these offenses, and is it possible?
Well, I think that we're in a different era, and scoring a lot of points is just, that's what's going on. That's where the game is. It's so pass oriented, so open up the field and get the ball to elite athletes. It's just the way it is. The only thing that I can say is defensively, the one thing I would absolutely focus on is getting to the quarterback. And last year we had that opportunity. This year has been spotty. I really think that we missed Smith and Togiai badly. I kept looking at Harrison, and he just was not effective. Leatherwood completely handled him. He got through a couple of times, but for the most part was relatively ineffective. But I think that's the only way to go in the future. Mix a few more blitzes in. We don't blitz much at all. We did some last night. They were doing a really good job of picking it up. Again, we come back to that as the defensive backfield looking like this. We're really not surprised, are we? I don't think anybody out there listening to this was surprised that the defensive backfield was gonna that this could happen. Getting to the quarterback has been essential, and we didn't do it last night, and 52 points went up on the board.
I think you can beat one of these teams. Obviously, you're going to have a potent offense. I don't think that was an issue with Ohio State. I think you need to be able to rush the quarterback without blitzing, because taking the man out of coverage does not work. And I think you need to be able to rush the passer from both sides, meaning I think you need a top 10 level pass rusher on both sides. To that end, I think you also need an elite guy in the middle. JT Tuimoloau fits the bill there, by the way. All right, we're going to take a quick break, come back, talk personnel for 2021. All right, we are back. Here's what you know for sure. Next year's team is going to be very good, and it's going to look a lot different. Duane, I wrote down where I expect to see changes in personnel. On the offense, quarterback, left tackle, center, right guard, wide receiver 1, tight end, and running back 1. On the defensive line, all 4 spots, 2 linebacker spots at least, if not 3, and 1 corner spot. Let's start with the offense. What is your general vibe?
Well, I think quarterback is not decided yet, but it looks like Stroud has the edge. He's just, for one thing, he's more mobile, but that also could be just a thing of Day saying, you know what, if you're in there, you're too young. We don't need you out there making decisions yet in a game situation. I'm going to put the more mobile guy out there because if something breaks down, if the play blows up, just take off. I believe that's a possibility, that it is not about who's the better passer at this point. I think that's still undecided. If with a gun to my head, I'd say Stroud, just because he's been the one that seems to be coming out earliest, but we'll see. I've always believed Miller could throw the ball with anybody out there in his class. Well, I think that's just way too undecided. I'm not convinced that either one of them is already been anointed. I wouldn't anoint. I'd want those guys to play until the last snap of spring before I made a decision, and maybe even into fall.
It's going to be probably the most open quarterback competition that they've had in years. They've got really no one with any real experience coming back. The talent is there, but that's definitely going to be one to watch. Interesting. They're going to give Kyle McCord, the freshman, a chance too. It'd be surprising to see him be able to pass up guys who have been here for a while, but it's truly an open competition and an interesting one at that. How about running back?
You know what, Dan? I could see the completely different running back room. We're looking at, well, Sermon's going to be gone. And I agree with you. Teague is a change of pace back, a guy, when you come in and you want to pound it, he just does not appear to have vision, and he does not have he's not a make a miss to make a pay. It's just hit the hole, hit it hard, and maybe outrun the defense. And he can do that, but it's just not, it's not good enough. It's not enough. We've got a really great back coming in Crowley, in Henderson, and Crowley apparently is back. And I thought that there was a chance he could be the one to shake up the depth chart this year until he got hurt again. Well, now he's healthy, and I like that he's healthy this early. So, we won't have to worry about him playing in spring. We can get him out there. But Henderson is, I believe, a game changer. I don't know what in the world is going on with Steel Chambers. He is now, Crowley's ahead of him too. I mean, I know he missed one of the recent games because of COVID, but he hasn't played. Mayan Williams has come in. There's been a couple of times. Is he injured? We'll never know because, Ryan Day has everything but hit teams out there to take people out for letting out injury news. I don't know. He just seems to have disappeared off the depth chart.
Yeah, there's nothing coaches hate more than fumbling, and apparently he was fumbling in practice too. So clearly usurped on the depth chart.
I liked him better as a linebacker coming out of high school. Throw him over there if he doesn't want to transfer, but I don't know where he fits in the depth chart. And you say, well, he's a good back. Well, if he's fumbling, that's just not going to work. It's just not. So whether he's good enough, if he can't hang on to the ball, well, that's just the end of it. He's just not going to play. But I think the running back room gets blown up. I think Teague, we accept the reality of what Teague is. Crowley, I really loved him coming out of high school. I think that he and Henderson are really going to cause Teague Steel Chambers problems if Chambers is still with us, and Mayan Williams. Those guys are just another level of talent. And running back is a one position where early backs can just come in, and it's obviously the speed of the game is different. You're going against bigger, stronger, faster guys, but it's still picking the hole, reading it, and hitting it. And that is something these guys they're just better at. And they can do it at a young age. So I could see I'm not going to be surprised at all if our pecking order is Henderson and Crawley, and then whatever after that.
Crowley, I was also a big fan of his. Let's see what he's like when he's had an extended period of health and a nice off season where he's not rehabbing. We saw what happened with Trey Sermon when he got fully healthy. Running backs can look totally different, and Crowley had a ton of potential. I would agree also that Travion Henderson is just a different level of back. He's the most talented guy they'll have in the backfield since Zeke. Don't forget, they also got Evan Pryor out of North Carolina, the 4th rated back in the country. Talent won't be an issue. I don't know what they'll do with Master Teague. I wonder if they'll let him be the incumbent and force the guys to beat him out, or he may just go to the pros. You never know. Offensive line. Thayer Mumford made himself a boatload of cash this year. He's going to get drafted very high, I would say, hopefully by the 3rd round. Then you've got Josh Myers and Wyatt Davis. We expect them to leave. Nicholas Petit-Frere had a very good season at right tackle. Terry Miller, Matthew Jones, who got some burn at left guard. How do you see the offensive line shaping up next year? Paris Johnson even got some snaps at guard.
I don't think they're going to move Petit-Frere. I think they're just going to say leave well enough alone. He's playing so very well. Yes, he could play left tackle. There's no doubt in my mind. I don't think anybody doubts he could play left tackle, but he's got established in there. He's playing really well. He's got his technique down. I think they leave him alone and put Paris Johnson in at left tackle. I believe that's just what I would do. If they want to flop it around, that's fine. I think those are going to be the tackles. I think that's just the way it is. I don't believe Josh Myers is going to go. He could. I thought he was a better center last year, actually. Maybe with him being Jonah Jackson last year really helped him. That veteran leadership. Yeah, I don't think he's going, Dan. I think he could, but I think he'd be better off to come back. If he leaves, it's obviously going to be Harry Miller. But we don't have to worry about guard, because I thought that I don't know how you could disagree with this, that Matthew Jones was played better guard than Harry Miller did. And I think that's why they left him in there. Those two are going to be in there. Okay. It just does not, whether Josh Myers is there between them, we'll see. I think he's going to be. If he's not, Harry Miller moves in there. And the way Max Ray played, there's always this talk about the 5 best are going to play. Well, Max Ray, when he spelled Petit-Frere, he sure looked like one of the 5 best. Push him inside, let him play guard. That's something that I would think I would look at it that way, and just to get the 5 best on the field. He's big enough to play inside at guard. So let's see what happens with that. That's who I would look at right there.
DeJuan Jones, arguably the biggest human being in Ohio, will also be in contention for a spot. They're bringing in Donovan Jackson, who's probably the best guard in the country out of Texas. So talent will not be an issue up front. Experience will be the newest challenge. All right, wide receiver, it's pretty easy. I think Garrett Wilson will move into the number 1 spot and do just fine. Jackson Smith Najigba will have an increased role. Julian Fleming will have an increased role. Jamison Williams will have an increased role. G. Scott should get some burn. They've got a freshman coming in, Emeka Egbuka, who's spectacular. Wide receiver will be loaded once again. Tight end is interesting, Duane. They're likely to lose virtually everybody. Ruckert, who is going to be a better pro than he was in college. Luke Farrell, I feel like has been here for a decade. What's your vibe on tight end?
It's going to get real interesting if Ruckert decides to leave. I think that it's just an accepted fact amongst Buckeyes that Buckeye tight ends go to the NFL, and that's because they're excellent blockers. And that's something that NFL, they just don't want to teach a kid to block once he gets to the NFL. Well, that just makes sense. Well, if Rucker goes, wow, does it get interesting? I mean, who does step in there? Royer? He just doesn't strike me as an inline blocking kid, more of an H-back type. That one is just that's a toss up. We got a few kids coming in. Who knows who's going to be our tight end? It's if Rucker decides to leave early. I don't think he's going to, but it's not like a tight end in our system is going to put up numbers that are going to change his draft status, Dan. That's why when you said that, I was like, yeah, that's why Dan's saying that, because statistically, it's not like he's going to have a better senior year than he did a junior year. We just don't throw the ball to the tight end. So that's a scary proposition. Probably the scariest outside of replacing a quarterback is that we want to have good tight ends. We keep recruiting them even though we don't really use them. That's going to be a big one is who's going to play tight end if Rucker leaves.
Yeah, we can't even attempt to do the defense because there are so many spots. I think what we should just probably do is talk about a defensive lineman, a linebacker, and a defensive back, one of each.
Well, the big fear for me is Togiai going early, and there is no question he could be a guy that I can't see him getting beyond the second round. So the appeal of going pro, he may decide to go ahead and do that. I'd say that the odds are in favor. I'm not saying he's definitely. I definitely think he's going to leave. I think he could. That would be a big concern. Antoine Jackson, he wasn't what we thought he would be, but he's been solid in there. He's a senior. He's going. Haskell Garrett's going. I was going to get to him. He's gone. Really got first round grade written all over him. Vincent will be the one. Vincent is an excellent defensive tackle, but you need two. That's going to be a big deal, is trying to find a pair of tackles. I don't expect them to be as effective as Togiai and Haskell Garrett were. I just don't. They were the best pair of defensive tackles I can remember. Who can come in there? Tuamalo. He's got to be at the top of the list. Number one target player, period, over anybody that we brought in, even Egbuka. Egbuka is gravy. We've got such a deep receiving core. We need to restock a defensive tackle. Maybe a guy, you don't like to throw freshman linemen in there. Mike Hall, I know you're a big fan. He's already a 300-pound kid. Is he going to be able to come in there and help? Let's hope, because we're going to be looking for a tackle that can step in and play, Dan. Not a guy that can come in and help. We need a guy that's going to come in and start and play and be good. It's hugely important. At ends, I don't know what's going to happen to Dan. I mean, you got Tyreek Smith. He's got to be one of the starting defensive ends. I think that Sawyer is going to be a kid that's going to come in and play. He's just too good. He's going to come in and help us. We got to find a way to get Harrison. Got to find a way to become more effective in there.
When you say got to find a way, they already have the best defensive line coach walking planet Earth. If he hasn't gotten through to him yet in 2 years, I mean, maybe it's a thing where he's going to mature later on, but he just isn't what we expected.
Oh, that's pretty obvious. Alex Leatherwood just handled him last night, and Alex Leatherwood is a great tackle, but it was not pretty. We're going to fill some holes. I really believe Jack Sawyer is that good that he can come in and have an immediate impact.
Look, if they get Tuamolo out and you bring in Jack Sawyer and Mike Hall, I think that's enough raw talent to buttress what they have coming back to be very, very effective. You could make the argument if they get those three guys, it's the best defensive line haul in one class they've ever had.
Well, you got Gant. that's Gant is an awfully good linebacker when he's allowed on the field. We just have not played our younger linebackers that much. I hope we're going to be able to hold on to Pope. It seemed like he was really irritated here about a month ago, and I thought he was going to hit the portal, but nothing more's come of that. And I hope he sticks around and knows that he's going to play more next year and quite likely start. So he and Gant come on the field. Then it's a matter of finding a guy to play in the middle, and we'll see. We'll see if we've got a guy who can step in and play a middle linebacker better than Borland. That's what we need, is somebody who's better than that. Was just he had a good senior year finally, but when we needed him most, he just like last night. The one play, I'm telling you, wasn't his fault, but there were others, just like the swing pass to their running back. You know what I'm talking about. Najee Harris down. He scored. That was Borland's guy, and he just wasn't athletic enough to get there. He's chasing him. He figured it out. He just did not have it to get out there and make a play on the kid. So, we're going to upgrade there. Let's just be honest about it. Some people don't want to hear stuff like that, but the fact is, most of us realize that he just did not. He called the defense and all this. Yeah, I understand, but he himself just did not. With a solid senior year, I'm happy for him. But getting a new guy in there, that needed to happen anyway. We're going to miss Warner. Warner was just so underrated. And Browning had a good senior year. He played very well. Last night he had an impactful play, highly impactful play. And Hilliard, what linebacker is playing better than Hilliard down the stretch? So and he could decide to come back if he hadn't missed. If he wasn't a 6-year guy already, I think that he would go ahead and take his 6th year. Is he going to take a 7th? I don't know. I think he could come back. He would absolutely be a starter. He would be outstanding, fully healthy off season, where he can hit the weights and really get in such immensely good condition, and then have a good spring. I think he could benefit greatly about it. But looking at his age, he may decide to go. I think Reed Carrico can come in here and have an early impact. He's got an inside linebacker body. If he can come in and learn the system quickly, he's an impact player.
The aforementioned secondary, I have no idea what's going to go on. What I saw from Seven Banks last night concerns me for the future. I'm sure he will return as the incumbent. Sean Wade will go at safety. Who knows? Josh Proctor seems to be there. I like his aggression. Technique-wise, I'm not sold. Where do they go in the secondary?
Well, I think that you're going to see the guys that we brought in last year, like Legend Cavajos, finally get, you've heard it too, Dan. I know you have. Staff have heard it, that he's had some injury situations that have kept him from stepping in there.
Very high on him, though, and they're also very high on Ryan Watts.
Yeah, I loved Ryan Watts. Coming out of high school. So, throw them in there, see what they got. We've got a history of throwing cornerbacks on the football field, and trial by fire, son. You gotta sink or swim.
Trial by fire. Our current secondary is still ablaze.
There's no question about that. And I too have, you see Banks making a play here and there, but he was just turned and twisted all night last night. He got turned and just, and Williamson's coming back, and Williamson is a kid that just I keep watching him make bad decisions. All of them are making bad decisions, but Williamson seems to be the one who just does not read the game well enough, and he does stuff that you're like, this guy's running open. Why are you over here? We saw it really bad in the Indiana game with him. And like Proctor last night, first series, first time Smith touches the ball, they throw a slip screen, and Proctor sees it. He makes his move, but he tries to run underneath. Dan, he makes the right read, run underneath. This isn't Northwestern. This is Alabama. This is the best player in the country. You're going to run underneath and catch him from behind? No, you're not. So what's he do? He gets outside the other defensive backs had stood up the receivers that were trying to block them, and it was just Proctor. You make the right decision. We stop this play. What happens? He comes underneath instead of going wide and lets them get about 20 yards. First time he touched the ball. Just not good decision makers. We need to get these guys coached up or find some other guys that read the game better, especially at safety. Safeties have got to, first thing they've got to do is see it and then make a good decision. And our safeties, game in and game out, have made bad decisions. We haven't seen Hooker for a while. I don't think he was on the COVID list. I don't remember seeing his name, but that was the good thing. I'd like to see Latham Ransom back there. He has looked really good when he's been in there. Let him play. We'll still work with Proctor because he does a lot of good things, and then he does bad things. But he's workable. He's got some talent. He does read it pretty well. Put him in there with Ransom. I'll run with that. I believe that we're going to see Ja'Kalen Johnson and Jordan Hancock. Those guys are another level. They're really another level of cornerback. That's what we're used to bringing in here and putting out early entry first round draft picks. Those are the kind of talents they're going to get thrown in there. Dan, you have to believe that the coaches see we're not good enough in the secondary. Somebody's going to come in here with a quarterback that can throw the football with some decent receivers, and we saw that with Indiana. That it didn't take a Trevor Lawrence or a Mac Jones to exploit our defensive backfield, and it didn't take a Smith to beat our defensive backs when Indiana came in here and threw the ball all over the ballpark. They've got to see that we've got to be better in the defensive backfield. So I believe throw them guys in there. I'd much rather see freshmen making mistakes than veterans making mistakes. Throw those guys in there. They're elite talents. Bring them in here and let's upgrade this defensive backfield again.
If you made it through the whole show, you're a true Bucknutter, and I realize there was a lot of doom and gloom there, but as I said on yesterday's show, before the game, it has been a miraculous ride. Basically, 5 months ago yesterday, the season was canceled, and Ohio State still made it to the final game. Yes, Alabama proved supreme, but this team will be remembered as the team that slayed the Dabo Demon and the Clemson Demon, and it was very, very important. I think the further we get away from this loss, we will also appreciate that win a little bit more. We are going to have the most comprehensive preview and coverage of the season ahead you can get. We appreciate Duane stopping by. Have a good one, Bucknutters.